Without giving us any prior warning, he turned off the TV and accused us of doing nothing at home other than lazying around and stressing Grams. He then tasked us to sweep and mop the whole house.
I guess we should never have said that.
We tried to put up a protest and told him that it wasn't our responsibility to carry out such chores. Grams hired the cleaner guys to sort that out.
He feigned ignorance about it and at once dialed the cleaning company Grams was in business with and asked them to hold off on their services for a while. He then told us that cleaning the house would be our responsibility as long as we stay. I'm surprised my brother said all of that. And even forced us to go wash his car. I'm Cole Harrison, and this is my story. I was born into a large African family, but we made the big move to the United States before I clocked 5. I remember much of my early childhood days in a small village in Kenya, living among a host of extended relatives. Being one of the youngest, I had more playtime than you could imagine. My grandparents showed me the greatest love, and basically constituted my memory of home after we moved. Anyways, they died a couple years later. The good thing about moving at a tender age is that you get to embrace your new location as home almost naturally. At least, I did. 37 years since we made that move, and I'm a father of 2 lovely kids, widowed of a wife, laid off at my job, and almost empty of all my savings. My kids are the best part of my life, and I could say, the only reason I haven't gone on to meet my wife. Moira. She was a slender white woman with the prettiest face I'd ever set my eyes on in my whole life. She was a cop, and had died about 4 years ago while on duty. My best friend, Richard, has been a good shoulder to lean on, and he never fails to console me and ask me to move on. Come on, man, it's been 4 long years since Moira passed on. If not for anyone or anything, for the sake of your kids at least, you have to start living again. I know what this is about, and for the umpteenth time. Bro, I'm not getting a new wife. I don't need one, and I'm pretty sure I can take care of my kids on my own. There are a lot of great women out there who will do a great job in filling Moira's shoes. Come on, you don't want to starve your kids a mother figure, do you? I always argued with him, and insisted I could take care of my kids on my own. But with my job gone, I knew it was only a matter of time before bills caught up with me. Guess what? It did. With my savings almost completely exhausted and my rent due the next month, I was forced to play my last card. Hello, Mom. How are you doing? I got a little challenge. I was wondering, is it okay for my kids and I to come over for some little bonding as it's their holidays?
Oh, that would be lovely. Yes, please. Can you come tomorrow? It's been a while since I last bonded with my grandkids on a really close and personal level.
That was it. The next day, I gathered some of our stuffs and took the trip from the big and noisy city where we lived to the small, quiet town where Mom and some other family lived. 2 of my brothers and their family, along with a few uncles and aunts, stayed really close. And while I trusted Mom to keep my children safe, I was a bit skeptical about the others, but I hoped and believed everything would be just fine. I was very lucky because it was the summer holidays, so I had enough time to stay at Mom's without her or any other family suspecting anything. The truth, though, was I was only trying to find a place where my kids and I could lay our heads as we had barely a month to evacuate our home.
How long would you be staying here? Please tell me the whole summer holidays.
It all depends on the kids, I guess. What do you say to spending the whole summer holidays with Grams? Of course, I knew they weren't going to pass on the offer. With that, I bought myself some time. I hoped I could find a new job before the end of the holidays and fix myself up just in time. Mom was awesome, and my kids loved her perfectly, but they kept making reports to me. I guess my other relatives weren't too pleased with having them around. Dad, why does Uncle Basil hate us so much? No, don't say that, please. Uncle Basil doesn't hate you. He can't hate you. What happened?
Earlier today, John and I were watching a TV show when he came back. Of course, you were not home and Grams was asleep. Without giving us any prior warning, turned off the TV and accused us of doing nothing at home other than lazying around and stressing Grams. He then tasked us to sweep and mop the whole house. We tried to put up a protest and told him that it wasn't our responsibility to carry out such chores. Grams hired the cleaner guys to sort that out.
I guess we should never have said that. He feigned ignorance about it and at once dialed the cleaning company Grams was in business with and asked them to hold off on their services for a while. He then told us that cleaning the house would be our responsibility as long as we stay, and even forced us to go wash his car. I'm surprised my brother said all of that. Don't worry, I'll go talk to him about it. I guess he must have had a rough day and unintentionally transferred his frustrations towards you. It's all good, huh? The tiring thing about being a single parent is getting to listen to all of your children's complaints and reports. I really missed Moira. The way she handled the kids made me feel all the more lucky and pleased to have her. It felt like a superpower the way she did it effortlessly. Anyways, I assumed the events of that day to be a one-time stuff and as a result, didn't bother to go talk to my brother about it. I was wrong. 2 days after that particular incident, my kids returned to me with another report. This time, it was not just Basil, but virtually his whole family. He had a wife and 4 sons, with the youngest being far older than John. I had returned from my hunting adventure to find my kids crying. Now, I told it to no one, but I wasn't hunting deers, or any animals, as a matter of fact. It was merely an excuse to leave home, drive into town, and carry out my job hunting mission. I enjoyed staying with Mom, but I had just about 3 weeks to fix myself. I knew she was never going to mind us moving in with her permanently, but it wasn't something I felt comfortable with. I'm sure Moira would never have approved it while she was alive, and so I felt like doing that was me dishonoring her. Like I was saying, I returned home one day to find my kids crying in the living room. Hey, what's wrong, guys? Why are you crying? Don't tell me you got in a fight with each other. It's Uncle Basil again.
And his whole family, wife and kids.
I had bought them some cookies and ice cream on my way home. I comforted them with the snacks I bought and asked them to give me a detailed report of what happened. It turned out that one of Basil's kids had walked in on them mopping the house and, in an intentional act of wickedness, chose to stain the floors all over again with his dirty shoes. My kids had pleaded with him to stop and leave, but he seemed to enjoy hearing them beg, and rather than stop, only did worse. Anyways, as God would have it, he slipped and fell, but suffered a dislocation or fracture in the process. His whole family rushed out to come meet them in the living room, and without asking for an account of what had happened, accused them of hurting him. His mother even said my kids wanted to have him killed as part of their plans to destroy them and own the place. About them crying, it was her calling a bluff on them.
She left home few minutes before you returned.
Did she say where she was going to? Yes, Dad. She went to file a report at the police station. She wants to get us arrested. I laughed at the comment and assured my kids that they were safe now that I was home. I explained to them that she would do no such thing and was merely tossing empty threats around. Besides, they were still only kids and could never stand trial, not for her false allegations. We were in Mom's house, so I felt like she was the only one who could do anything to make my kids feel any less comfortable. With that in mind, I confronted Basil and his family and demanded both an explanation and apology. I was shocked at what I got instead. Look here, Cole, this is Mom's place, our place. It belongs to family. There is no way I'm letting those white kids of yours take it away from us. I can't wait for the summer holidays to be over so you can leave already. I was shocked. My brother had directly implied that he hated my kids. And why? All because they had inherited their late mom's white skin. I tried to explain things to them, but clearly, they'd made up their minds to have us leave. I thought of telling Mom about it, but believed that I'd outgrown making reports to her. I returned to my room with a heavy heart and opened my laptop only to find a mail from one of the companies I'd applied for. I was invited for an interview the next day. I arrived the interview venue to find an old-time friend whom we'd lost contact with each other as the head and owner of the company. I'd come through for him on countless occasions, and feeling indebted to me, he offered me the job instantly and far above what I'd applied for. He made me a part of the management team. With a new job secured, I told Mom I had to move. Neither she nor my kids were pleased with the sudden decision to move, but I knew it was vital. Basil and his family had made their holidays hell, and only God knows how many things they'd chosen not to report to me. On one occasion, his wife had broken the TV set and blamed it on my kids. Luckily, Mom had nothing but love for them, and so completely overlooked it. My kids and I left and moved on to the new city, where I was to resume as part of the management team of a top company. For my brother and his family, I didn't think much about them until a few months later when they called me.
Hi, Cole, we need your help, please. It's your brother's wife, Basil's wife.
It turned out that they were in deep crisis. She and her husband had evaded tax for longer than 5 years. Their kids, too, had their own problems. 2 were in college, and with their parents' financial crisis, they had no funds to further, and somehow, they'd hoped I could offer some assistance. The other 2 had been laid off at work, and were hoping I could find a position within the company I worked in, for them. You're right. I can help you sort out all your problems, but after everything you did to my kids and I, don't expect any favors from me. I hung up and blocked her number, and every other one they tried to reach me with. I heard they were tried and found guilty, and sentenced to serve time. For their kids, they dropped out of college and joined the other 2 in settling for the most petty jobs. They all work for sewage disposal company, just to survive. I know they hate the job, and they have a very wicked boss who makes them work overtime with no pay and sometimes return home smelling poop. I smiled whenever I watched my brother's trial for the 5th time. It was a fulfilling life and the perfect revenge.